Hi, thanks for joining me at Movie Review Mom. Today I am talking about Queen. Well, Bohemian Rhapsody is the name of the movie, but it's all about Queen, which I loved. I grew up in the 80s, and not that I was a headbanger, but I am a good rock and roll girl, and I loved Queen. One of my all-time favorite rock bands. So I was super excited to see this movie, and I'm super excited to tell you about this movie. So I gave it a B plus, and I'll tell you why. First, let me tell you a little bit about it. It is rated PG-13, and it's 134 minutes long. I would have given it an A or even an A minus for just a few things that I wasn't thrilled about. But I really enjoyed the movie, and I think that you will too, especially if you're a Queen fan. So a few tips for parents to start off, since I am Movie Review Mom. While Freddie Mercury is the feature of the movie and his lifestyle, the movie is very tastefully done. You don't see rampant, crazy stuff at all, considering they were a rock band, with drugs and sex and rock and roll. The movie actually is pretty tame, and I appreciated that. I don't have to see everything to know what's going on. So there are some tasteful moments that let you know that he was a bisexual, and that was a part of his life, and it's certainly a part of the story as he learns about himself and what is the meaning of life and that kind of thing. So you see some men kiss, but you don't see a whole lot of action. You even see a man and a woman in bed, but you don't see a lot of action. You see a man wearing women's clothing, but that's not that big of a deal. It's part of his style, and he was kind of one of the first performers, I guess, at the time to come out and wear that kind of stuff like that. There's talk of AIDS and death. And of course, there's some alcohol and drugs that are in several scenes. There's some fights and some arguments. And then there's one moment where Freddie Mercury's girlfriend and actual wife later on, Mary Austin, has a father who's deaf. And so Freddie didn't know that at the time. And so he was saying, well, did you tell your father this? And she's like, yeah. Did you tell your father this? Yeah. And then he says, oh, well, did you tell her that you're a good shag or something like that? And she's like, Freddie, he can read lips. So for British audiences who know what shagging is all about, you know what that conversation was about. I think most people in America know what that means. But if you don't, then it was tasteful and you didn't even notice the moment. But anyway, let's get on to some of the other things, like the themes. First of all, Rami Malek knocks it out of the park as Freddie Mercury. He's amazing. And there's Oscar buzz actually going on, at least talk amongst the fans who thought that he just nailed it. He was spot on Freddie Mercury. And since then, after watching the movie, I've seen a bunch of other interviews with Rami Malek as he's talking about how he got into the character and his great love and respect, not for the character because he was a real person, but for Freddie Mercury. One of the things that Rami Malek says as Freddie is, don't look back, only forward. And that's one of the themes of the movie. It's about the past, but the future as well. Of course, it's about family. It's about loyalty and fidelity in a variety of ways. And also, as Freddie is exploring who he is, he says, I decide who I am. And that's kind of, wow, the theme of a lot of movies recently, just empowerment and let me be who I am. And that certainly comes out in this movie. Forgiveness, loneliness, greed, those are also additional themes. And there's plenty to talk about with your kids if you choose to see this with your kids. All right, so back to Rami Malek. He's just totally amazing. He's actually Egyptian, and it's funny because some of the earlier movies that he did were actually as an Egyptian. In the Twilight movie saga, Breaking Dawn Part 2, he plays an Egyptian character. At Night at the Museum, he plays an Egyptian. Actually, he's in both of those. And then he actually was also in the remake of Papillon, which it gave me pause to just wow, reflect on what a great job he did in that movie. And so I was even more excited to see this movie because they're such contrasting characters. And I'm just so impressed with him as an actor now. He can do it all. I was just super impressed. And I've never even seen Mr. Robot. If you've seen it, you're probably already a fan. But now that I've seen these last several movies with him, I am such a fan. So I'm going to check out Mr. Robot and see more of his acting. The casting really is great. At the very end, you get to see live footage and pictures of the band, Queen, and how they looked back then when they first started. And then you'll be especially impressed with the casting because the guys are just spot on. The movie really focuses on Freddie Mercury, and the rest of the cast are kind of side characters in a sense. And so I would have liked to have explored more of their lives and seen more about them, but it really was more of a biopic of Freddie Mercury, which was fine. I mean, I loved that. I loved how the story began and ended with the Live Aid concert, because there are many that say that was just the concert to end all concerts, and that really that concert moment was the pinnacle of his performing career. And so it was appropriate to begin and end. Some people are critical that the ending scene of the Live Aid concert went on way too long. But if you're a Queen fan, then you were totally fine. And I just ate it up and I thought it was awesome. But it did go on a little long. I recognize that. What's interesting, and as I watched a interview with Rami Malek, he said that that Live Aid scene was filmed on day one of the filming of the movie, which is amazing because that was day one and they didn't even know, what they were doing. And so he said he figured that if he got a call to go back the next day, then that means that he did a good job. Clearly he did a great job. He nailed it. I mentioned that the movie is 134 minutes long, and it didn't really feel that long if you're a Queen fan. If you're not, then you're like, okay, let's wrap this up. But I wanted more, actually. I wanted more singing. I wanted to learn more about how the creative process evolved as they created their music. And you do get a little touch of that. I thought it was really fun to see some of the scenes where they pull out all these crazy instruments as they're kind of exploring with their sound and what is going to be their unique sound. And so I thought that was super interesting. I mentioned Mary Austin, who was married to Freddie Mercury for a time, and she's played by Lucy Boynton, who I thought did just a lovely job. It was very sweet to see how loving and forgiving and loyal she was to him, even to the very end. And that's true love, which I thought was very sweet. Another actor I have to mention is Mike Myers, who's in the movie. So the first time I watched the movie, I totally even did not catch that it was him. And then as I was writing my movie review at moviereviewmom.com, I was like, wait a minute, Mike Myers was in the movie, and I had to go back and rewatch it. And then I was like, no way, how did I miss that? So he plays this actual fictional character named Ray Foster, who was kind of an accumulation of real life characters of people who said no to Queen early on. And what's awesome is he's listening to this Bohemian Rhapsody and he's like, no one is ever going to be head banging in the car to Bohemian Rhapsody. And what makes that line priceless is Mike Myers played this character in Saturday Night Live, called Wayne's World. He and Dana Carvey did this Saturday Night Live sketch that went on and became a movie and was just so popular. And the best scene, of course, is where they're in the car headbanging to Bohemian Rhapsody. And so it was just awesome to have him say that line in the movie. It was really fun. So pay attention or you might miss him in the movie because he's got a big beard and red curly hair and everything. It's kind of funny. All right, so there were a few things that I didn't like. For example, I would have liked to have learned more about what inspired certain songs and their lyrics. We hear them and we watch them create Bohemian Rhapsody, among other songs, but we never learn what some of those words mean. And I still would like to know. So you watch Freddie Mercury evolve as a character, and he experiences a lot of character development. He has this very sweet moment with his father, and I don't want to spoil it with you. Maybe I'll tell it. I don't know. But anyway, but the other band members don't have a whole lot of character development because they are just kind of side characters. So what I would have liked to have seen some more information about them. And then some critics are actually saying that the movie glosses over some of the details and even sanitizes them. And that's actually true. So the tricky thing about a biopic, especially when you're doing one person in a band, is how much can you possibly cover in a movie? Are you going to talk about the music, the band, the personal lives, the road to success, how they were discovered, all of that, the history of it? So what this movie kind of ends up as is more of a biopic of Freddie Mercury and kind of the greatest hits delivery of their experience and their history. One cute moment is as Freddie Mercury actually and his wife are, I think they're on the floor after a little toast. But anyway, he's laying on the ground and the piano is behind him, and he starts kind of tinkering Bohemian Rhapsody, the melody and the piano. This is early on in the movie. And she's like, oh, well, that's lovely. And he says, I think it has potential. And so that's just kind of a little nugget to let you, savor the moments as they lead up to that. And then one of my favorite lines of the movie is, the band is arguing, they're discussing stuff. And then Freddie says, there's only one room in this band I messed it up. Sorry. He says, there's only a room in this band for one hysterical queen. I thought that was funny. They do mention that the reason that the band was called Queen wasn't because he was gay or any of the other band members. He said it had to do with the fact that they were British, and they loved the royal family and it made them feel royal. And then later on, one of the other band members says, no one knows what Queen means because it doesn't mean one thing. And I thought that was insightful for people that weren't familiar with the band. And I have I have 4 sons, but my youngest son watched it and said, he didn't really know anything about the band, the history, or anything like that. Of course, he knew about some of the epic songs, but so he learned a lot about the band, and he didn't know why it was called Queen either. Anyway, okay, so I'm not going to spoil the moment with Freddie and his dad. You just have to watch it. I thought it was really, really great. Anyway, I hope you like the movie. You'll love the music for sure. And in the meanwhile, be sure to like this video, because this is a new channel, so I need lots of subscribers. So subscribe to the channel, click on the little bell, and you'll be alerted the next time I have another movie review out. Also, check my written movie reviews at moviereviewmom.com.